Hi, everybody. Welcome on to RochesterFirst.com. I'm Eric. This is John.
Hey.
That's 51 degrees this afternoon.
It's been incredible. I mean, I was south of here, and it was even higher at times. I mean, this 2-day, really 3-day stretch has been magnificent, but back-to-back days where we've been in the 50s has been really nice.
And the contrast between this and where we could say where we should be for this time of year is
26,
stark
right?
And significant. Yeah,
generally around 26.
You had some video here that we were watching earlier, just showing the difference.
It's crazy. So today, this is Letchworth, Middle Falls, Genesee River flowing finally over that 107-foot waterfall. Same perspective, Eric. 5 years ago today, to the hour. Nearly 100% frozen over. When I got there, it was 12 below air temperature, actually 18 below overnight. Coldest month in history was 5 years ago. Then I come back to Rochester. What do you know? Signs of spring at the George Eastman Museum. Every February, I try to get this. You have to have low snow total on the ground, or melt, which we did.
Yep.
Yesterday I was there, this was not there. So this is the first sign of spring.
Wow.
Under the copper tree there. It's a wonderful tree. The winter aconite. So it's coming, folks.
Now, before we start getting too excited about these 50-degree days, well, we get to have an interesting conversation as we start to move forward. Drive home this afternoon is obviously great. You're going to still be mild and dry. The hourly numbers, they will fall as we go through the overnight, eventually trickling down into the 30s, which leads us, John, into an interesting situation by tomorrow morning. Cirrus clouds continue to stream in. Here's wave of low pressure number 1. See the big comma head circle there? That's the center of the low, just southwest of St. Louis. Here's number 2, though. You remember last week we were talking about these 2 waves that were going to combine. So there's 1, there's 2. They will essentially merge, if you will, into 1 over the next 48 hours. We're going to get bit by this by tomorrow morning. This is going to be the first push of some precip, and we will throw out here winter storm watches are in effect, I want to say, for probably the first time for some of those folks in Michigan. This has been a very quiet winter for a lot of them. Here's how Futurecast sees this by early tomorrow morning. There'll be some light precip nearby. I mean, you see what I see here. It's everything. It could be rain and snow, but it's going to be light. I don't see the impacts being significant, not with a 34-degree temperature. Then we go to near 40 in the afternoon. So if you've got anything around, and I think it should be minimal, probably across the southern tier more than anything, it'd likely be rain. Second surge starts to come in into Tuesday night. Now, we'll watch this one. And if this ends up being mostly snow through the night with temperatures, you know, right around the freezing mark, I could see a 1 to 3 inch swath developing out of that. But problem's going to be again into the day on Wednesday.
Amazing.
Here comes the next surge of warm air that will take all of that snow and throw it back to rain. So we're going to try our best to iron this out because we're bouncing around all over the place here. Tonight is easy. Tuesday and Wednesday is up and down between the rain and the snow. You, I know, are going to be more excited about, I think, the Thursday, Friday time frame. This is going to be where does this bigger low track? And where the models have been so far today is a track that is generally overhead. And typically when you get it overhead, that's not a big snowmaker for western New York, for Rochester. Be a big wind maker, but we would have rain that would then go to snow. Where that would change would be if that low tracks farther off to the south, then we get in on more of the heavy snow. Now, this is kind of how we see this, just to show you how complicated this is.
A roller coaster ride here.
We cross this line between that rain-snow threshold once in the morning, go to rain in the afternoon, back to snow late tomorrow night, back to rain into Wednesday, only going back to snow into Thursday. So there's a lot of bouncing around here, and while you could have some minor accumulations when you get into these nodules of snow, the fact that we're bouncing around doesn't really lend itself to a whole lot of issues out of that, which is good. But this is the one that I think we have to pay closest attention to. If we could get the temperature to drop a little bit during this time frame, during the late day Wednesday, if that low were to track farther off to the south, you would be talking about the potential for some more substantial accumulations in here. It's just right now that does not appear to be the predominant case of what this is going to do. This is an old graphic, so we'll just ignore that. So as it stands now, we think this is a messy work week, but in terms of significance, probably not that big of a deal unless we see things start to change a bit. 40s through the evening, we'll drop into the 30s from there. So what do you think about this, John? Any waterfall fun by the end of the week, into the weekend?
Potentially, certainly. I mean, you've got the snow melt that's already contributed to the river flow. You saw that in the Letchworth image at the outset that we showed. I mean, there's some good flow in that river right now. Couple that with the precip totals that we're going to get in some form, one way or another, probably what, half an inch maybe of rain in some areas. And so that will certainly trigger some of the waterfalls in the area. we'll see.
And lake effect is going to be a thing out of this, and that's something I get to talk to you about as we go toward the end of the week. What we have not really seen so far this season is the kind of lake effect setup that hammers places like Buffalo or hammers places east of Lake Ontario. Most of the lake effect snow this season has been on the south side of those lakes. That is not going to be the case with this one. We think later Thursday into Friday, some of the north towns of Buffalo, for example, getting in on this. I think Oswego is an interesting place too. I doubt this is going to be a Rochester event in terms of lake effect snow, but some of the areas that have been really lagging in that department because they haven't seen that correct wind flow, that west-southwest wind flow. This is a good biting setup for folks in those general areas. You know, Buffalo has been, typically they lead the pack here for snowiest cities. And they're struggling mightily in no small part because they can't get the lake effect.
Well, in north towns or the south towns.
Either. Either or.
Off of Lake Erie or, I think back to 1 year ago today. 1 year ago today, I was at Sodas Point for about 10, 12 hours. We were getting a wind event, and it was significant. A lot of people lost power. The next day, on the 25th, I went to Oswego, where the top wind gust was 81 miles an hour, hurricane force. That's the 1 year ago today and tomorrow when all that happened, and it left a lot of people out there with no power. So we're getting into that time of year, late February into March, where you see volatility with the weather, and it's been like that for a number of years here. 91 ice storm. 2017 windstorm, all in March, and here we are last week in February, and things getting very,
that's what this encapsulates here, is you're getting a strong, deepening area of low pressure, and while this one may not be the kind that gives you a ton of snowfall necessarily, to your point, when you get these very intense lows and they're nearby, there will be wind out of this by the end of the week, too. I don't think we're talking 80 miles an hour, nothing like that. But I do suspect these next 4 to 6 weeks around here, with an active storm track, with these deepening lows like that, this is the time of year where you can really get some wallops in that regard.
We'll look forward to see what you have for us.
Yes, we shall see. We're going to be seeing you in 15 minutes. We'll see you at 5 o'clock.
Take care.